Whenever I go to a picnic, my friends bring the chips and the dip, but I seem to always bring the quiche. So I'm going to show you the way that I like to make it. This is my picnic quiche, and it is ridiculously simple to do. So to start with, I'm going to make almost an unorthodox way of making pastry, if you like. We're going to be starting with 150 grams of butter, and that's just bubbling away here nicely on the stove, to 1.5 cups of water. And we just combine them together and just want that just to come to a gentle simmer, and then we're going to add the flour. So usually when you're making pastry, you would add cold butter to the flour. This is a complete opposite way, but trust me, try it, it works. So you can see simmering, turning that off, 1.5 cups of plain flour. So into that hot mixture of butter and water. It's 1.5, and I've got 1.5 cups of wholemeal flour. So I'm using half and half because I really like that flavour of the wholemeal through the quiche base, but you can use one or the other. I just find, however, if you use all wholemeal, the base, it doesn't hold as well as it does like this. So I'd highly recommend using both flours for this. So I'm going to bring this over off the heat and give that a really good stir until it comes together. There you have it, see? Instant pastry. I love this pastry, so easy to work with. And we place it directly into our quiche tin. Now I've got here a 27 centimetre loose-based quiche tin here, and I love these. Why? Well, because I can just take the quiche out nice and simply with that base there, of course, when it's cooked. So we're just using our hands to press down on this pastry. You know, it's very short, so obviously we don't need to roll it. We just need to pop it in there and evenly distribute it. Make sure that it goes up to all the sides there. And then what I'm going to do is place it in the fridge, allow it to cool down, so probably around half an hour, and then I'll blind bake it at 180 degrees. We've allowed the pastry to chill for half an hour. It's just firmed up nicely. And for blind baking, quite simply, we've got some baking paper, and I like to just scrunch it up in my hands like this because it makes it just a little bit easier to pop in to the tart shell. See, nice and easy. And then we fill it with baking beans, or I've just got some dried chickpeas here. And you place on the base like that. We're going to pop that into the oven for about half an hour, just for that to cook for the first time before we start adding the rest of the ingredients. So the tart shell is cooked, and I'm really happy with it. You can see that it has shrunk a little bit, but that's because it's so short. But by having a quiche tin that's a little bit higher like this, it doesn't matter. You'll still get quite a full quiche, which is what you want, well, especially for my picnic quiche. So to bind it all together, we need some eggs and cream. So for a quiche of this size, I use 4 large eggs, and we'll crack them into a bowl with about 400 millilitres of cream. Now, if you don't want to use cream, you can use a little bit of milk, or you can just do half cream, half milk if you want it a little bit lighter. So 4 eggs, a little pinch of nutmeg, a good pinch of salt, and like I said, 400 millilitres of cream. Get a whisk. We'll just break those 4 eggs and give that a good whisk to bind it all together nicely. Wonderful, ready to go. So the filling, you know, picnic quiche, it's one of those wonderful things. You can adapt it to what you have in the fridge. I had some leftover ratatouille, which is simply fried off zucchini. I have some capsicum in there and some eggplant, onions, and I've also added some thyme and some bay leaves. So we'll just take them out now because we don't want any of those stalks in there. I've also got some sweet potato left over, so that's wonderful to add. You know, you can use whatever you have, and you know, a great vegetarian option if you want to use some leftover veggies in the fridge. So to arrange and to sort of assemble this quiche, I start with my mixed veg. Just get a spoon here, and we'll pop that in the base. So it's nicely distributed. Our sweet potato next. And this is great, so when you cut into it, you'll see all the different colours of those veggies. So a little bit of cheese, I love feta with this, and we'll just crumble that over the top. And if we didn't have enough veggies in here already, I have some tomatoes, and I like to cut them in half. Okay, and then just arrange them in the centre. Just make sure that you've got them perfectly arranged here, so when we cut this tart, everyone gets a little bit of those tomatoes, which when you put them in the oven, they'll roast and become so sweet. So the last job is to carefully pour our egg and cream mixture into the tart. Just being careful so it doesn't overflow, which it won't because it's quite deep. So now I'm going to place that in the oven for about 25 to 30 minutes at 180 degrees or until that egg mixture sets. Later, and look at that. The most perfect quiche you've ever seen. Look, allow that to cool slightly and then we just demold it. And this is where a loose base is so handy. That quiche just simply comes out like so. And because it's non-stick, that base comes off very easily. So I think what I love most about this quiche is the pastry. It's so easy to make. There's no rolling involved and it looks wonderful. It's a hearty quiche. So, you know, next time you have a picnic, take one of these.